Each year, a select group of highly skilled modelers qualify to attend and compete in a premier sporting event of scale radio control model aircraft competition known as the Masters. To those who have made to the 20th annual U.S. Scale Masters. Not all modelers are willing to sacrifice the time, money, and effort that it takes to ready and bring a scale aircraft model across the country and pit their building and flying skills against the best of the best in scale model aviation. This year's competition once again enjoyed scale aircraft of all types, from turbine jets to military aircraft of World War I and World War II, and also many great scale civilian aircraft. The event was held at the Cave Buttes flying site in Phoenix, Arizona, and enjoyed great sunny weather throughout the entire event. Major sponsors who made the 20th annual U.S. Scale Masters possible. Airtronics, #1 in fine RC products. Airtronics also donated a radio to all the winners of regional qualifiers conducting Team Scale. And Bob Smith Industries, the freshest adhesives modelers can buy. And also Proctor Enterprises, manufacturers of fine scale model aircraft kits. Scale Model Research. If it's information and documentation on aircraft you need, you can bet that Scale. And Pacer Technology, adhering application. And last, our host of the 20th annual U.S. Scale Masters, the Sun Valley Flyers. And our competitors are ready to compete for that coveted title of becoming the Masters Grand Champion. So find yourself a good seat and get ready as we bring to you the 1999 U.S. Scale Masters. The first portion of the Scale Master competition is the static judging. This is a very important part of an entry's total score. All aircraft must have documentation to show authenticity of the aircraft their entry is modeled after. The documentation is very important in the static judging, especially in the event of two similar aircrafts. Good documentation can give the entry's aircraft the edge over one with poor documentation on static scoring. The static judges judge aircraft for accuracy to outline, worth a possible 40 points, color, finish, and markings, worth a possible 30 points, and last, craftsmanship, worth a possible 30 points. Static judging takes place prior to the flight judging. In the static judging, when aircraft are judged for craftsmanship, the judges walk around the aircraft, getting no closer than 4 feet to the entry. Markings, all aircraft are judged from a distance of 15 feet. If judges have any questions pertaining to the entry, they do not ask the contestant a word. They refer to the documentation that has been accompanied by the aircraft. That's why good documentation is essential in this competition. Finish, color, and markings are judged with the intent to verify that the contestant has properly researched the full-scale aircraft to prove that the model they are presenting matches the full-size aircraft. One important note in the static judging is that the use of transmitters to operate any type of scale gear, like speed brakes, lights, or etc., will not be allowed. However, we couldn't help but noticing some of the great scale work on this beautiful F86 entry. After the static judging was complete, we moved to the second portion of our competition, the flight competition. Mike Peck from the Sun Valley Flyers and also our CD for the 1999 Scale Masters briefed all the pilots prior to any competition beginning. A great event like the US Masters wouldn't be complete without the golden voice of our announcer, Sam Wright. Our judges are all in position on the flight line, so let's go down to the flight line and begin our second portion of the event, the flight competition. Our first pilot's from Wiltz, California. Dave's entry this year is this beautiful HC-130H Hercules. The aircraft was built from Skip master plans and took Dave about 1,000 hours to build. It features an operational Fulton pilot recovery system, a parachute drop, and Fowler flaps. The aircraft is about 1/16 scale and it weighs 24 pounds. Powered by 4 OS Max 25DF two-stroke motors and an Airtronics radio system for guidance. When pilots enter aircraft, they enter their aircraft in either the Expert class, the Sportsman Scale class, or Team Scale. Dave's entry is in the Expert class. This year, there was a total of 31 entries competing in the Expert class and 8 entries in Team Scale, bringing the count to a total of 39 entries in all. Dave's aircraft earned a total of 93.50 in the static competition. Our next contestant in the Expert class is Mike Barbie from Columbus, Ohio. Mike's entry is a YMF-5 Super Waco. This aircraft has a 120-inch wingspan and weighs in at 47 pounds. The plane is a 1/3 scale aircraft, and Mike built the aircraft from a Peter Barth kit, and it took about 5 months to build. The aircraft features landing lights and a smoke system on board. The plane utilizes a 3W100 motor on gas, turning a 30x10 prop. It's covered with Stitz covering and painted with PPG paint. Mike is using a Futaba radio system for guidance. This beautiful aircraft won Best of Show at Toledo in 1999. In the flight judging of the event, the emphasis is placed on scale realism. Your choice of aircraft type will determine your maneuver's parameters such as speed, geometry, and position with respect to the judge's center line. Contestants should indicate if their aircraft type is designated either aerobatic capable or non-aerobatic by checking the appropriate box on the flight line score sheet. The contestant is encouraged to brief the flight judges when handing them their score sheets by going over each maneuver and explaining exactly what the judges are to expect. This is the opportunity to clarify the particular maneuver the contestant has chosen. The information provided to the judges is what they will expect for. If the contestant says nothing, the judges have no choice but to judge according to what they understand a maneuver should look like, based on the guides and other guides such as the AMA or FAI competition guide. Scored a 98 in the static port. This Stinson SR-8 was entered in team scale by Lynn Hirsch from Brentwood City, California, and piloted by Ken Saper from Fremont, California. The aircraft is 1/4 scale and weighs 26 pounds. It's powered by a Genoa G38 motor on gas and turning at about 1,500 hours to build this aircraft. The aircraft was built from an Icon NW kit, and it features covered in Coverite and painted with DuPont Emeron. Both doors in the cabin are functional, and Len is using a Futaba radio gear for guidance. In the flight judging, each maneuver will start with a score of 10 points, and the flight judges will deduct for errors noted during the execution of the maneuver. Errors will include mismatch noticed in precision, placement, and realism for each maneuver. The maximum points are awarded as follows: 5 points for precision, 2.5 points for placement, and 2.5 points for realism for each maneuver. The following will receive a 0 during the flight judging. Cross 0 will be awarded for the maneuver being performed or for the previous maneuver. 2. Maneuvers performed out of sequence. A 0 will be awarded for the skip maneuver, but judged normally for the rest of the sequence. And 3, touching the model before completion of the flight, unless directed to do so by the CD or the air boss. All these violations constitute a 0. Len Hirsch and Ken Saper received a total score of 90 during the static event. Eugene Job from Santa Rosa, California, brought this beautiful Hawker Sea Fury to this year's Masters. It's powered by a 3W motor, and the aircraft is covered in fiberglass and painted with K&B paint. Eugene Job entered this aircraft in the expert class. Eugene Chobe scored a total of 97.50 in the static portion of this event.
Definitely a photo opportunity. World War I down below and civilian up above. Speaking of photo opportunities, Jerry Nelson's here.
Bill, C-17 staggered wing. The aircraft is built from Lee Ricker plans and it's 21% scale. The plane is using a Seidel radial engine and took Bill about 1,500 hours to build. The aircraft is painted with the very same paint that the full-scale aircraft is painted with, a polytone paint. The wingspan is 80 inches and the aircraft weighs 32 pounds. It's covered in stitch covering and the aircraft is turning a 2210 prop. It's using an Airtronics radio gear for guidance. Bill Curry entered his aircraft in the expert class. Bill Curry scored a 96 total points in the static judging of the competition. In the flight judging, each of the contestants is scored to the nearest half point. A maneuver starts at 10 points and then deductions occur. A maneuver combination is primarily scored with equal emphasis between the maneuver and the scale operation features. Precision content worth 5 points is the ability of the pilot to perform the defined maneuver, geometry, and when applicable, the precision of scale operation features within a maneuver combination. A maneuver's combination precision content will be equally divided between maneuver and scale operation. Should scale operational features fail to operate or deploy within a maneuver combination in a realistic and timely manner due to either mechanical malfunction or pilot error within a maneuver combination, the result will be a 50% downgrade in the score of precision. Larry Sutherland from Fresno, California, entered this VT-13 SNV-1 in the expert class this year. The plane is 1/5 scale and was built from a Brett Baker kit. It has a 90-inch wingspan and the aircraft weighs in at about 25 pounds. It's powered by a Zenowa motor turning a 20x6 prop on gas. The aircraft is covered with fiberglass and painted with stitch paint. This aircraft competed in both the 93 and the 94 Masters. Larry Sutherland earned a total of 93 points in the static portion of the competition.
Sound is a VT, Kenya VT-240 V-twin 4-stroke. Don't come up. Now on a runway, the big yellow Piper Cup, the P-18 Super Cup. This is a team scale entry, Dan Thorderson and Gary Millay. Dan, the pilot from Saugus, California.
This next aircraft is a team scale entry brought to this year's Scale Master by Gary Millay from Huntington Beach, California, who is the builder, and pilot Dan Thordelson from Saugus, California. Their entry in team scale is a 1/3 scale Piper Super Cub PA-18. It weighs 47 pounds and it's using a Bryson motor turning a 2410 prop on gas. The aircraft has operating flaps and lighting system. The plane was built from a Balsa USA kit and took Gary about 2,000 hours to build. It has a 144-inch wingspan and is covered with stitch covering and painted with enamel, and it's using a JR radio system for guidance. Gary Millay and Dan Thorelson received 84.50 points in the static display portion of the event. Dan Thorelson entered his F4U-1A Corsair in the expert class. This aircraft is a 1/5 scale and weighs 32 pounds. It's using a Zenowa G62 motor and turning a 20 by 8 by 14 prop. The plane was built from Jim Meister plans and has a 100-inch wingspan. Dan covered the aircraft with fiberglass and it's painted with perfect paint. Dan is using Gene Barton wheels and Robart 90-degree retractable landing gear. The aircraft is using a Futaba radio system for guidance. Dan Thorelson is from Saugus, California. In the flight competition, pilots will fly 5 rounds of competition. Each round will be scored individually for its flight. The top 3 scores a pilot achieves will be taken and the lowest score discarded. These 3 top scores will be averaged to give the pilot his total flight score. The static score will then be added together with the flight score to give the entry its total score. The pilot with the highest total score will be your 1999 U.S. Master. Of 88.50 in the static portion of this event.
I'm Dan Thoresen. I'm an entry here in the 1999 Scale Masters in Arizona. The airplane I'm flying in the event is an F4U Corsair. It's built from Meister plans. It took me about 8 months to put together and about 6 months of collecting parts, making sure I had all the right gear. It's powered with a Zenowa G62. The engine is, I have a dummy radial engine on the front to represent the 28-cylinder radial engine that would have been in the airplane. One of the features that you'll notice with this airplane is the bent wing design, and that was so that the prop would have clearance, and if you keep the landing gear as short as possible for the carrier landings. When the gear folds up, it rotates 90 degrees and folds back into the wing. That allows the wing not to be as thick as it would be, and we're just out here to have a real good time at the Masters.
The 1999 U.S. Scale Masters enjoyed thousands of spectators on both Saturday and Sunday of the event. Also, there were many vendors on hand to add to this great event. One vendor in particular was Zurich Sunglasses. For quality sunglasses that will last, try Zurich. Zurich is the preferred choice of eyewear for RC pilots. On both Saturday and Sunday, during the noon hour, all the aircraft were put on display and the public was allowed on the runway to get a good close look at all the aircraft and also ask the pilots questions concerning their entries.
Your attention, please.
Sunday morning began with the presentation of colors, presented by the local ROTC. Three rounds were complete, and there were only 2 rounds to go before all the scores were totaled up, and our 1999 U.S. Scale Masters Grand Champion was crowned. Sunday morning, we returned back to the action. One of the first planes out to begin round 4 was John Cole from Peoria, Arizona. John's entry in the expert class is this beautiful Hanson Brandenburg C1. This aircraft is using a Super Tiger 3000 motor and it weighs 20 pounds. John covered the plane in cover right and he finished it in an airbrush paint. A little history on this aircraft. This is a World War I vintage aircraft. The C1 was one of the earliest designs of Ernest Hinkle, who had previously worked for LBG and Albatross. It was a great general purpose biplane capable of successfully performing light bombing, reconnaissance, and artillery observation duties. The company, although based in Germany, was run by an Austrian. This may have been why many were built by Phoenix and UFAG in Austria-Hungary for military service. Production aircraft appeared in many different series and with various power plants, including the 160 horsepower Mercedes D3 and the Astro Daimler 200 horsepower Hero. Also, the 220 horsepower Benz engine and other engines were utilized in this aircraft. Entering service in 1916, the C1 type remained operational until the armistice. Interestingly, a number of C1s operated in national and international airmail service during the final months of the war. Maximum speed with the Astro Daimler engine was about 87 miles per hour. John Cole received a 95.50 for the static portion of this event. Greg Hahn from Louisville, Indiana, entered his SPD-5 Dauntless in the expert class. This aircraft was scratch-built from Zeroli plans, and it weighs in at 44 pounds. It has a 104-inch wingspan, and it's covered in fiberglass and painted with acrylic enamel paint. Greg is using Glennis wheels and Robart retractable landing gear. The engine is a Zenowa G62 motor, turning a 2410 prop on gas. It also features flaps and bomb drop. Greg tells us that he has more hours in the building of this aircraft than he can possibly count. The plane is using a JR radio system for guidance. Greg put his SBD-5 Dauntless through the paces for the judges. His maneuvers included a bomb run and also a torpedo drop. Most in-flight maneuvers, including those with a droppable payload, will optimally be placed directly in front of the judges, or the judges' center line, on the maneuvering line. This will typically be about 10 to 50 feet beyond the far side of the defined runway area for flyby type maneuvers. There are times when the contestant will be allowed to offset maneuvers to either side of the judging center, as long as the contestant informs the judges before the maneuver. Otherwise, the judges will have to default to the judges' center line for placement. Judges may request, on the other hand, that maneuvers be offset to aid in visibility. The contestant is not obligated to offset the maneuver if asked, but he should be aware that if the judges cannot adequately view the maneuver, it will be difficult to score it. Greg Hahn received a total of 98 points in the static portion of this event. Next up, we have Gary Parker from Wilsonville, Oregon, with his entry in the expert class, his D5A Albatross. This aircraft was built from a Proctor kit and has an 88-inch wingspan. Gary Parker is one of the owners and founder of Proctor Enterprises. Gary's aircraft is using an Enya 240 motor, running an 18 by 6 by 10 prop. The aircraft weighs 22 pounds and is covered with super coverite. The finish is painted with lacquer paint. It's using Proctor wheels and took Gary about 1,200 hours to build. Gary's using an Airtronic radio system for guidance on his aircraft. This aircraft has about 300 flights on it, and it's modeled after an aircraft in the Smithsonian Air Museum. Gary Parker received a total of 98.5 points in the static judging of this event. Dick Hansen from Portland, Oregon, also entered a D5A Albatross in the expert class. This aircraft is also a Proctor kit with an 88-inch wingspan and using an Enya 2-cylinder motor. It weighs 23 pounds and it's covered in coverite. The aircraft is using a Futaba radio system for guidance.
Industry now. Platinum. All of our sponsors, many, we haven't mentioned yet for their support, help to offset the cost of this type of contest. Also the Sun Valley Flyers for their support. And by the way, when you buy a raffle ticket, that helps offset the expenses as well. Some lucky winner will get sail high touch and go. The World War I pilots, because of the wooden tail skid, are permitted to take off on the dirt strip, which normally in real life would have been grass.
Dick Hansen received a total of 92.50 on the static portion of this event. The only jet aircraft entered at this year's Scale Masters was brought by Shailesh Patel from Eureka, California.
Custom retracts. This is an AMT turbine burning real JP4 fuel.
It is a turbine-powered aircraft powered by the AMT Pegasus motor. This turbine is imported from the Netherlands and puts out about 22 pounds of thrust. The aircraft was built from a turbine connection kit, and it weighs about 32 pounds. It's 1/6 scale and has custom-made retractable landing gear. This beautiful jet took Shailesh Patel about 1,500 hours to build. The jet is also using Glennis wheels and brakes and features roll-out landing lights, air brakes, scale cockpit, and sliding canopy. The covering material is Presto Chrome Coverite to give the jet its scale finish. The turbine engine runs on JP4 or kerosene. Shailesh is using a Futaba radio gear for guidance.
Again, all electric power. Covering a lot of sky with that turbine. He's got a pretty high burn rate on his fuel, so the pilots do use energy management, such as we put on a full-size jet. Advantage of a lot of that energy flow up on the downside. See before you get home. Shailesh Patel now back to the FA6 turbine. Squeezing down his brakes pretty hard and just in time.
Shailesh Patel received a 97.50 in the static portion of this event. This jet was also entered in the expert class.
name is Shailesh Patel. I'm from Eureka, California, and this is my Scale Masters entry for this year. And this particular airplane is an F-86F from Turbine Connection Kits. It's powered by an AMT Pegasus engine. The aircraft weighs 32 pounds. Some of the features on this aircraft is operation landing lights that roll out of the fuselage and point forward. I've got speed brakes. I've got wheel brakes by Glennis Aircraft and tires, all machined out to the specification for scale sizing. Got flaps. Got a sliding canopy with a full cockpit. The aircraft is really a truly flying machine. It flies basically more on the wings than most of the newer era of jets, and so far it's had about 10 flights on it, and it's covered with Presto Chrome Coverite and carries just about a gallon of gas.
Richard Skoglund from Lancaster, California, entered as Spacewalker 2 in the expert class. This aircraft was built from a SIG kit, and it's 1/4 scale. It weighs 12 pounds, and it's using a Sato 4-stroke motor. Richard has about 200 hours in the building of this fine scale model. The aircraft has an 84-inch wingspan and is using an Airtronics radio system for guidance. Richard Skoglund received a total of 92 points for the static portion of this event.
Rick Skoglund now in Lancaster, California, landing the red Spacewalker 2.
Next up was a team scale entry. Mo Malinsky and Randy Clausen from Lakewood, Colorado entered this beautiful P-61 Black Widow. The plane was scratch built by Mo Malinsky from Zaroli Plans, and it has a 114-inch wingspan. It's using Glennis wheels and brakes and Robart retractable landing gear. The aircraft is powered by 2 Zenowa G45 motors on gas, turning 20x8 props. It weighs 47 pounds and is finished with PPG paint. This is Mo Malinsky's 3rd scale project ever, and what a job he did. Mo says that he has too many hours to count in the building of this fine scale aircraft. Randy Clausen from Lakewood, Colorado piloted the P-61 for Mo Malinsky and put it through the paces, guided by our JR radio system for guidance.
Down from your left, the P-61 Black Widow.
The Northrop P-61 fighter was in a class by itself. Equipped with an advanced nose-mounted radar developed by American scientists, this unconventional plane helped the Allies to win command of the airs at night. The Black Widow, as it was referred to, was crewed with a crew of 3 men, and it was primarily designated for night missions. It got its name from its black paint and deadly armament. Also 4 machine guns. It had the capability of carrying 6,400 pounds of bombs, and it resembled the P-38 in the fact that it had twin booms, which made it similar. Mo Molinsky and Randy Clausen received a total of 91 points for the static portion of this event.
Colorado, and Mo Molinsky is the proud builder. There's got to be a great moment for him here. Check this guy out. It's okay to applaud. Trust me, it won't influence the judges. But it sure makes the pilot.
My name's Mo Molinsky. This is Randy Clausen. I'm the builder of the Black Widow. Randy's the pilot. We're entered in team scale at the U.S. Scale Masters. What we have here is a P-61 Black Widow from Zeroli Plans. The thing was scratch built. It is not cut from a kit or anything. I did get some of the formers and everything from Zeroli as far as the plastic. The power on the airplane is two Zenoa G45s, and they swing 20 by 8 master air screw props. That's what gives it the nice sound that you hear as it goes by. As far as the other details in it, the radio in it is a JR 8103. The thing has 2 receivers in it for load sharing. It also has 17 servos. All the different surfaces are actuated directly. There's no mechanical linkages. The other thing about this airplane is that when we had it in Vegas last year, we topped out at about 122 miles an hour. So it will do well when we're in cooler air. The thing that is painted with PPG, acrylic enamel, and it has a clear coat, urethane clear coat on top of it. The original aircraft were all gloss black, and that was unusual in the sense that everybody thought a black airplane in the air at night should be flat, but the gloss really disappeared into the night sky. The retracts are by Robart, and the wheels and the brakes are by Glennis.
3,000 milliamp pack, extra lights, landing lights and nav lights on the side were added, 31,000 rivets. Peculiar to the P-61 is the amount of flap area. A lot of people are asked how this thing rolls. There's small ailerons that pretty much act only as trim tabs. What really rolls the airplane are the spoilers that come out of the top of the wing, and they are fully functional, just like the real airplane. The airplane is kind of heavy. This one right now weighs right around 50 pounds. Because of that, it can be sluggish, especially on hot days like today. We would have rather been in California at sea level, but you don't get to pick those things all the time. It is a little sluggish at times because it is so heavy, but it does have good authority once it's up on the step. The 20 by 8 propellers are a little flatter than what we could put on here, but as Mo says, it makes a wonderful sing, and it has some good acceleration because of that. So in the slow flight regime, it can accelerate out of it real well, and yet we limit our top speed so it looks real scale-like.
Next up in the competition was Brian O'Meara from Denver, Colorado, with his entry in the expert class, an F4U Corsair. Brian's aircraft is 1/5 scale, and it's scratch built from Brian Taylor Plans. The plane features flaps and gear doors. This project took Brian about 1 year to complete. It weighs 24 pounds and it's using a Webra motor for power, turning an 1810 prop. The aircraft is finished in ace enamel and it has an 82-inch wingspan. It also has Gene Barton wheels and Gene Barton retractable landing gear. The plane is using an Airtronics radio system for guidance.
Sun Valley Flyers, by the way, have a booth here at where the scoreboards are. You can enter the canopy area. Coming from our left, the bent-wing bird, as it was called. The F4U1 Corsair, gear down and locked, looking for that hangar deck, carrier deck.
Brian O'Meara received a total of 95.50 for the static portion of this event. Doug Crumley from Wichita, Kansas entered his Blanca Super Decathlon in the expert class. This is a quarter-scale model, and Doug built the aircraft from his own plans. The plane has a 96-inch wingspan and is covered with Stitz polytone covering. Doug Crumley received a total of 95.50 for the static portion of this event.
And Doug Crumley back to the field with the Blanca Super Decathlon 96-inch wingspan on this aircraft. Aircraft features an operating torpedo drop, landing lights, flash, and retractable landing gear. The Bristol Boatfighter, again an unusual aircraft.
This is Ken Schaefer's entry from Fremont, California. This is a Bristol Bullfighter, scratch built from Ken's own plans. This plane took Ken 2,000 hours to build. The retracts are scratch built by Ken and are his own design. The plane is 1/6 scale and weighs 52 pounds. It has a 118-inch wingspan and is powered by 2 Sato 4-stroke motors, turning 20 by 10 props on glow fuel, and has a torpedo drop. Ken tells us that this plane was a labor of love. Ken is using an Airtronics radio system on board for guidance. Ken Safer received a total of 93 points for the static portion of this event.
Hi, my name's Ken Safer. I'm from Fremont, California. My entry is a Bristol Bullfighter, Mark 10C, modeled after the one in the Hinford Museum in England and painted after it. It's a 52-pound model. It's all balsa, designer scale, 2,000 hours to build it. And that's not counting plants. That's just building. Let's see, all balsa, powered by 2 Sato 300s. Love them, they're running great. Thank you, Sato. And custom-made landing gear that worked very well. I've just done my 25th flight on the airplane. The landing of it's fantastic. Every landing sweet as can be. It's also my 25th takeoff, and everyone's miserable. Because the worst thing you want is the short-coupled, short-nosed tail dragger twin. But I decided to model it because I wanted one of a kind. I wanted to have a first. And Greg Hahn's upset about it because he was drawing one up, but I beat him to it.
Fighter has declared an emergency. 1 engine out.
Fortunately, we've had some problem with the bullfighter.
Unfortunately, Ken had a motor shut down during his final round of the competition, which caused the loss of this fine scale aircraft. However, Ken Safer, being the professional that he is, told us with a smile he will be back. Bob Benson from Mansfield, Ohio, entered this Beechcraft T-34C in the expert class. The plane is 1/5 scale and it weighs 22.3 pounds. It's using a Mookie engine for power, turning a 16 by 10 by 8 prop. The plane was built from an RT and Associate plans, and it has an 80-inch wingspan. The wheels and retracts are both Robart, and the aircraft is painted in PPG paint. Bob has about 700 hours in the building of this fine scale aircraft. The plane is using a Futaba radio system for guidance. Bob Benson received a total of 94.50 for the static portion of this event. Chuck Maitre and John Elliott Jr. entered this Waco YMF-5 in team scale. This plane was built from a Pica kit and has a 72-inch wingspan. It weighs 15.5 pounds and has a Sato 4-stroke motor turning a 16x8 prop. Chuck has 500 hours in the building of this aircraft, and it's finished in Century 21 paint. John Elliott is the pilot for the aircraft. John is a service representative for Airtronics in Irvine, California. Airtronics donated a radio system to all of the winners of Team Scale at the qualifier for those hosting Team Scale. We're very proud to have Airtronics as one of our major sponsors for this year's U.S. Scale Master. Chuck Maitre and John Elliott received a total of 91 points for the static portion of this event. As we entered into the final rounds of competition, the scores were posted for the last 4 rounds. The competition intensified now that all pilots were completing their final rounds. It would only be a matter of hours before our 1999 U.S. Scale Master champion would be crowned. Kent Walters entered his final round with his SBD-3 Dauntless in the expert class. This aircraft was built from Kent's own plans. The plane is 16.7 scale and it weighs 23 pounds. It's powered with an OSBGX motor turning a 16x6 prop on glow fuel. The aircraft has a 74-inch wingspan. The retracts are custom built and Kent finished his plane in Aerogloss paint. Kent Walters is from Scottsdale, Arizona. Kent Walters received a total of 98.50 for the static portion of this event. Dick Henage and Joe Topper from Sandy, Oregon entered this Fokker D7 into the team scale event. This aircraft was built from a Proctor kit and has an 80-inch wingspan. Dick Henage is the builder of the aircraft. Joe Topper, who piloted the aircraft, is one of the owners of Proctor Enterprises. The Fokker D7 that Dick Henage entered and Joe Topper received a total of 94.50 for the static portion of the event.
Joe Topper now with touch-and go with the Fokker D7. Climbing off to the left, red and white color scheme.
Gus Stutzman from Cloverdale, California, entered this beautiful Newport 28 in the expert class. This aircraft is a World War I vintage built from a Proctor kit. It has an 80-inch wingspan and it weighs 15 pounds. It's powered by an OS motor turning an 18x6 prop on glow fuel. The aircraft is finished in a lacquer paint and is using a Futaba radio system for guidance. Gus tells us that he has too many hours to count in the building of this fine scale aircraft. Gus Stutzman received a total of 94 points for the static portion of this event.
One of their sponsors, by the way, has been added in the this event is A to Z lawnmower shop. By going through the center of the flat figure 8, one of the mandatory maneuvers, the pilots are required to execute for.
Kenny Kerr entered this Liberty Sport in the expert class. This aircraft is built from a SIG kit and has a 57-inch wingspan. It only weighs 7.5 pounds and it's using a Super Tiger motor turning an 11.6 prop. The aircraft is finished in coverall and Ken is using an Excalibur radio for the guidance of this aircraft. Ken received a total of 97.50 for the static portion of this event. Joe Topper from Sandy, Oregon, entered his Fokker D7 in the expert class. The plane is built from a Proctor kit and has an 80-inch wingspan. It's using a laser motor on glow fuel and is covered with Coverite, painted with lacquer paint. Joe Topper is using a Futaba radio system for the guidance of this aircraft. Joe Topper received a total of 99.50 in the static portion of this event. Manny Sosa's entry in the expert class for this year's Scale Master was a Culliver Cadet. It was built from Vern Clement plans and has an 89-inch wingspan. It weighs 18 pounds and it's using an OS motor turning an 18.6 prop. Manny took about 500 hours to build this aircraft. The aircraft is covered with stitch covering and has SentryJet retracts. Manny is using an Airtronics radio system on board for guidance. Manny Sosa received a total of 90.50 in the static portion of this event. The last aircraft in the competition was Earl Munsey from Columbus, Ohio, flying this Waco YMF-5. This aircraft is 1/5 scale and it weighs 18 pounds. It's powered by an OS motor and this aircraft is a modified Pica kit. Earl Munsey told us that it took him about 1,200 hours to complete this beautiful scale model. Earl received a total of 91.50 for the static portion of this event. Well, the competition was complete and all 5 rounds were turned in by all the contestants in both the expert class and team scale. It would be up to the judges now to average the 3 best scores and discard the 2 lowest to arrive with a final flight score for our contestants. This year's competition was very close, but when the judges returned with the scores, they stacked up like this. First off, team scale. Picking up second place would be Randy Clausen and Dan Malinsky with their P61 Black Widow. And your first place winners in team scale, Joe Topper and Dick Henich with their Fokker D7. In the expert class, your top 10 winners would be as follows. Starting from number 10, Eugene Job with his Hawker C Fury. In 9th place, Dick Hansen with his Albatross DVA. 8th place, Gus Stutzman with his Newport 28. Coming in 7th, Gary Parker with his Albatross. Picking up the 6th place spot, John Cole with his Brandenburg. Number 5, Joe Topper with his Fokker D7. Coming in 4th place, Shailesh Patel with his F-86 Saberjet. In 3rd place, Mike Barbie with his YMF-5 Super Waco. Your 2nd place winner, Kent Walters with his SBD-3 Dauntless. And in 1st place, and also your 1999 U.S. Scale Masters Grand Champion, Greg Hahn. Congratulations, Greg Hahn, with his SBD-5 Dauntless entry. The 1999 Scale Champion, how do you feel?
Oh, feels great. Still hot.
What was your aircraft?
The aircraft was an SBD-5 Dauntless, Zeroli plans, Robart retracts. It was 104-inch wingspan, weighed 44 pounds. As assembled with Zap Blue and Glennis wheels. The airplane flew great. JR radio, of course, handled the heat better than I expected because I came here thinking the heat was going to be really bad on it. And we had a few problems, but it all ironed out and worked real well.
Well, congratulations, you're the 1999 Scale Masters champion.
Thank you very much.
Well, the 1999 U.S. Scale Masters is in the books, and our grand champion, Greg Hahn, has been crowned. We'd like to once again thank all of our sponsors who made the 1999 U.S. Scale Masters possible. We hope you can join us next year at this prestigious event when we once again will bring to you the U.S. Scale Masters Championship. So on behalf of Lear's Video Production and the U.S. Scale Masters, we bid you a good day until next time.